For the ordinance, Rita Bahuguna Joshi of the Congress, Mehboob Beg of the National Conference, Deepa Sinha is an activist for the right to food. Against the ordinance, Smriti Irani of the BJP, Gaurav Bhatia of the Samajwadi Party, Bijon Mishra, consumer expert, and Prasenjit Bose, left-leaning economist till recently with the CPM. Rita Bahuguna Joshi, everyone has just one question for you. It has been 220 weeks since the last general election. It has been 480 weeks since you brought out your common minimum program, if I take it back to 2004. So please tell the people of India, Rita Bahuguna Joshi, you have not done something for 220 weeks if I take 2009 as the benchmark. You have not done something for 460 weeks if I take 2004 as the benchmark. You've kept making the promise on the right to food, and suddenly you can't wait 2 weeks for the parliament session. You are in such a tearing rush that you will ignore all political parties, you will bypass the parliamentary system, you will not allow a debate. What is this, Ms. Joshi? Why are you doing this?
Well, let me first tell you, and you also know, that that food security was in our manifesto of 2009. So we do not have to associate with 2004. Now,
in 2004, you made the promise in your common minimum program.
They came in 2011. Ever since you've been seeing how the parliament is not being allowed to function on some reason or the other, and the intention of the political parties is very clear from the kind of statements and debates they are holding outside the parliament. It is very clear that they will not allow this bill to pass easily. You have seen in the last session.
No, who has said they will not allow the bill to pass?
With them.
Has the BJP said that? Smriti Irani, have you said that? Let's settle it first.
Because on some account, they will not allow the House to function.
But how can you be presumptuous?
They will not allow
How can the Congress be presumptuous?
But the question,
which political party? Name one political party. Name one political party which has said we will not allow the food bill to be passed. Name one party.
If they are, because the intentions, I said, the way they are talking, the way they are debating, the way they are criticizing, the way they are saying implementation.
No, they are only saying,
they are only saying
bring it to parliament. No, Ms. Joshi, let me remind you. Ms. Joshi, just one follow-up to you, please, and then I go to Smriti. Ms. Joshi, let me remind you.
Sure.
I remember what was going on in this country during the Lokpal agitation. Your party and your government, at every platform on every television program, said, Parliament, Parliament, Parliament. Parliament is supreme. That was the slogan. What happened? At that time, Parliament was supreme.
But
now Parliament is so redundant that you can't even wait 2 weeks to pass a bill that is going to cost the country 682,000 crore rupees over a 3-year period.
Arnab ji, we are not playing with the constitution. We are not playing with the law. What we are bringing is in the social sector a very landmark decision where 80 crore people of this country are going to get
go into that.
Food grains at a
we'll go into the bill. First question was process. First question was process.
The bill is very merited. No. It is a landmark decision, and there should not be any opposition to the bill.
Will not is another issue. Smriti Irani.
It'll take 6 months.
Smriti Irani.
To implement it.
Smriti Irani.
And the time has to start now.
You've called it upon yourself, as in your party has called it upon yourself. Your role in parliament has been so disruptive that Manish Tiwari said that you have been afflicted with disruptionitis. And it is this disruptionitis which the Congress party uses to say that they don't expect anything better from you. They say the people of this country cannot wait for the BJP to disrupt another parliament session, and that's why they are going through the ordinance. Your response?
I had the privilege of listening to Mr. Makhan on your show, who did not indulge in a debate with any other panelists but talked to you about national interest. And I think that Congress representatives need to answer the following question. Was it in national interest when Pawan Bansal and his nephew indulged in the railway scam?
Why?
Was it in national interest when the so-called, no, allow me to finish, Arnab. When the so-called arms gate, which was popularly known as the chopper gate scam, was indulged in by Congress leader? Was it a national interest when the 2D scam was indulged in not only by UPA ministers but also certified by the Prime Minister of India? So every time the Congress points a finger at the opposition for raising concerns with regards to corruption in Parliament, my question is this: if you were that conscientious about democracy, you would have ensured that these people never had a chance to indulge in corruption. It is the responsibility of the government to ensure that Parliament functions smoothly. Insofar as the last session goes, I think the example is pretty glaring, Arnab. The opposition, including the Bharatiya Janata Party, continuously asked the government to sack a corrupt minister like Pawan Bansal, which the government refused.
Are we discussing Pawan Bansal?
Stupendous that they
Are we discussing Pawan Bansal?
No, let me finish. You want me to discuss the ordinance? I shall come to that, but allow me to finish
yes, I
the
want
question
you
that you started with regards to disruption.
The subject, please.
But Mehboob Beg is accusing you of straying away from the subject.
That's not the subject.
That is Mehboob Beg's job
I'm
function.
sure that's
Nothing
not
new
the
and
subject,
doesn't surprise me. Insofar as the food
Arnab,
security bill is concerned, there are 2-3 points I would like to highlight.
Mehboob Beg, Smriti Irani says she's coming to the subject. Let her complete. I know you want to respond after that to you.
Firstly, the assumption professed by the Congress party that the idea is unique to the Congress party with regards to the food security bill, not in fact taking cognizance of the fact that on the 25th of December 2000, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji and the BJP-led NDA had introduced the Antyodaya Anna Yojana, which was appreciated by Mr. Chidambaram, who tried to expand on it in 2004 but could not expand because the government of India could not get the requisite paperwork done, put it in place so that this scheme.
Oh, so you're worried they're going to run away with the credit?
Secondly,
you're not against the bill, but you're worried they'll run away with the credit.
I'm not worried. You see, please, Arnab, I think as a conscientious politician and as an editor, we are absolutely right in asking why is the government in such a rush to have an ordinance when it could have very well discussed this bill
That's a valid
during the
question.
session of Parliament.
That's a valid question. That's a valid question.
Okay.
And on that, there is a constitutional issue as well. Once Smriti Irani, I want Mehboob Beg is justifying the ordinance route. Gentlemen, let's have a first round. Mehboob Beg, you know, the argument is that this is against the constitution. This is against the law, what the government is doing. The argument some people are putting is this. Supreme Court in its judgment, DC Wadhwa versus State of Bihar Constitution Bench, headed by none other than Chief Justice P.N. Bhagwati, observed, the power to promulgate an ordinance is essentially a power to be used to meet an extraordinary situation. And it cannot be allowed to be, quote, perverted to serve political ends. So, Mehboob Beg, please tell me, and you know, you and Rita Bahuguna Joshi are supporting the ordinance route. I'm asking you today, is this not a perversion of the existing system? You have a political end, you want to take ownership.
No.
And therefore, you go through the ordinance route on a subject like you deny the people of this country an opportunity to debate such an important issue. 683,000 crore rupees this could cost in 3 years. I don't have a right to see a debate on it in Parliament.
Yeah, Arnab, now allow me to respond to whatever question you have raised, please. Nobody is in favor of ordinance, but question is, it is not unconstitutional. Let me tell you very categorically, it's not unconstitutional. Constitution provides this route as well. But this is unfortunate. This is not healthy for the democratic country like ours. This is not. The ideal route would have been Parliament, there is no doubt about it. But wasn't it tabled in the Parliament where I was present, and even the discussion started from Congress, and they went on disrupting the Parliament until Speaker had to adjourn the House. They will have to answer to the people of this country. And passing judgments on everything and all individuals is not a healthy thing so far as BJP is concerned.
But your like-minded parties have criticized you.
Yes, this is unfortunate, but
your like-minded parties have criticized you. Gaurav Bhatia of the Samajwadi Party is criticized. Gaurav Bhatia, your response. 1 second, let's get him. Gaurav Bhatia, why are you criticizing it? Let's hear all sides. Yes, Gaurav Bhatia.
First of all, let's come to the intention of the Congress. It is very clear that this move has been done because they are keeping the elections in mind, and this is a deception to the voters. They did it in 2009 by the loan waiver for the farmers, and now 2014, after 4 years, they remember the common man and the food security. Why couldn't they think of the common man in the last 4 years of their UPA 2 regime? we don't know. Secondly, the route that they're taking is nothing but playing fraud on the constitution, and even though it might be constitutional, but it is culpable exercise of power and it is not permitted. They want to avoid debate in the parliament because there are loopholes in the ordinance that they are bringing and also the bill that they had tabled earlier, and the Samajwadi Party is determined to expose their earlier bill and even this ordinance, how it lacks the basic necessities that should have been there in the ordinance, be it the implementation or the role of the state or the leakage that would happen and siphoning of food that would take place.
But it's very strange. It's very strange that the political party that keeps UPA2 afloat is getting insecure about this bill. You keep UPA2 afloat because you are afraid that the CBI will catch Mulayam Singh Yadav. And on the other side, you criticize them on this bill.
Yes,
Where do you
there is a reason, because we are not part of the government. It is an issue-based support.
So you're virtually part of the government.
The UPA2 is doing something wrong, then it is our duty to point out, and we'll expose the UPA2 on this ordinance and the bill on the floor of the House.
Okay, now 1 second. Gentlemen, we are getting our first round in. I want to remind the Congress party one thing. Rita Bahuguna Joshi, remember one thing. I remember that in 2004, before the general elections, right, when the BJP announced a series of SOPs that would have cost the exchequer 11,000 crore rupees, which is why I think Smriti Irani and her party have no business talking about populism. The Congress party said, Jaipal Reddy said, there is no free lunch. Santa Claus has not told us as to who will pay for the SOPs. That is what the Congress party says. Santa Claus will not tell us as to who will pay for the SOPs. So I'm going to come back to you. But Prasenjit Bose, where do you stand? What is the bigger issue? The bill itself or the way in which it's being brought through?
Well, I think it is more than clear that from what we are debating today, the fact that the government is choosing an ordinance route which is patently undemocratic, that the government had several options. It could have called a special session of parliament, it could have preponed the monsoon session. The fact that it is choosing not to take those options and going for a confrontation by adopting this ordinance route, what is happening because of this? That nobody is talking about food security. We should be ashamed as a nation that we still have one of the highest proportions of malnourished population in the world, but nobody is debating food security. When a food security bill is supposed to be debated, everybody is debating about elections, about the motivations of the Congress party, and I think it is the Congress as itself to blame because of this.
Well, no, we will discuss the bill itself. We will discuss the bill itself. But let's discuss the way in which it's being brought in at the start. In 2 minutes.
Precisely. I am not blaming you. I am not blaming you for discussing it. I am only saying that the Congress party and the government today has created a situation where rather than discussing food security and the fine print of the legislation, everybody, and I am lending my voice to that criticism, that is absolutely no way. The government has several other options.
Hear that, Rita Bahuguna Joshi. That's what you've got to answer for. You wanted this discussion. You wanted it to get politicized, and here it is. You wanted this issue to become politicized rather than get implemented. That's the charge against the Congress party. Bijon, I thought you're a consumer activist. Why are you against the way this bill is being brought through? Why are you against the bill? Is that your middle class, urban middle class elitism speaking?
Of course not. I visit a village every month. The remotest village of the country, I visit there every month. And I know what is happening on the ground. You know, the tragedy is an ordinance should have been brought out how to dismantle FCI. Food Corporation of India should have been dismantled by now. They are most inefficient. You know, the ordinances should have been brought on issues which would better the system. This ordinance in a hurry actually reflects that they want to sort of hide their faults. They don't want to improve on their systems of distribution. It is very clear that it is deceptive politics. It is completely a deceptive politics, taking the people for a ride. All these years they have done whatever they have promised, they have not delivered. It is not getting delivered. Access is absolutely denied. You see, food security means what? Access to wholesome food anytime, at any point of time for everybody. That is food security. Does people in the village get food to eat anytime, at any point of time they want? Are they getting it? I am asking the question to all the politicians, that have they been able to improve the existing system, which actually is carrying a burden of 90,000 crores, 1,000 crores in the exchequer, have they been able to deliver what they are promising?
Absolutely
have they delivered
not.
that? Is
Absolutely
there a study
not.
which can say that it has delivered?
Absolutely
So
not, and
if
which
they're
is
not
why I want to
delivered,
ask before I open up the debate. I want
Why
to
is
ask
this hurry?
Deepa Sinha, who's the activist there. No, I want to ask Deepa Sinha, why do activists like you, Deepa Sinha, not ask about the corruption that has been spread through these schemes? Why do you not ask questions about the collapse of the MNREGA? Why don't you raise questions about what the CAG found about the corruption in the MNREGA? Why don't you discuss the huge flaws in the farm loan waiver? Why don't you discuss the complete abysmal situation of the public distribution system? Why are you so excited, Deepa Sinha, about pushing this right to food bill when India does not have the infrastructure? The only people who will benefit will not be the people. It will be a section of the politicians. Why are you backing it?
Arnab, I want to clarify before I get on to your exact question that I am not for the ordinance. In fact, the Right to Food campaign released a statement publicly even before the ordinance was passed that this was not the right route to take. And for three reasons, I would say. One, we think this is setting a wrong precedence on how such important social security acts should come about. Secondly, we think that the way the current food security bill is designed has serious flaws. And with debate in Parliament on some of the amendments that other parties have introduced, which can strengthen it, must take place. And if those come in, we think it can be strengthened, including on aspects of delivery, of implementation, of grievance redressal, of accountability, which would change the, address some of the issues you were just raising.
Ms. Sinha, India does not have the infrastructure. India does not have the infrastructure to ensure that the large amounts of money which are... Yes, Gaurav Bhatia has a follow-up. Go ahead.
On this as well.
Yes, Arnab,
I would also like to say that this
infrastructure and implementation, it's also more about the categorization. The bill and the ordinance talks about categorization, but they don't even have the data to support that categorization. And assimilation of that data would take a few months. Then why couldn't they wait to table the bill? And within 2 weeks, they could have debated on the floor of the House, but they didn't do that. So if the data is not there, then why this rush? And the earlier in 2010, they introduced the criminal law amendment bill, but they could not garner support from all the parties. So they again went through the ordinance route to bring the anti-rape ordinance. Now they have this habit of rushing at the last hour because they lack preparation to get a consensus.
So the question is very simple. Rita Bahuguna Joshi, I come back to, we've had our first round, let's open this up for debate now. So Ms. Joshi, here's the problem. The problem is you woke up 460 weeks late. The problem is that you don't have the infrastructure to implement your promise, right? And the problem is you are doing it via a process that is smacking of political unilateralism. Why are you doing this, Ms. Joshi? Don't you think the people of this country will see through the desperation of your move?
Can I go one by one, please?
Go ahead, please.
Now, the first issue, as I said, was that it is not a political issue. It is definitely a social issue. It was in our manifesto in 2009. People voted us into power on that manifesto. It's a duty to fulfill that promise.
But they voted you in 2009. You promised in
debate
2004. You wake up in 2013.
One second. Talking about debate or discussion in the parliament, if you go by the records that have come, the worst business record of the parliament is from 2009 and 2014. You have seen in the past 1.5 decades, the least working hours has been seen in this parliament because the opposition has disrupted the house. They have not at all discussed, and so
then why didn't you bring an ordinance on the Lokpal? Then why didn't you bring an ordinance on the Lokpal?
Secondly,
why didn't you bring an ordinance on the Lokpal?
I'm telling you, we are not tampering. Yeah, because you're not tampering with the law.
No,
you're
the
not
same parliament, the same line of argument.
Yeah, you're bringing an ordinance. You're bringing in an ordinance.
Parliament is not allowed to work. No, what's
for the benefit of the people and the masses.
No, you're
and one second, please. The last point I want to make is, we are a federal. Look, we have representatives. Just let me make one more point. We have all the political parties represented on your forum, and they have governments in all the states. Do they mean to say that their governance is zero, they cannot govern, they cannot deliver? If they cannot deliver, they don't have a right to be in government in the states, in the different states. Every state government should deliver. What do you mean? A good ordinance or a good program should not come should not be floated because
I-
there is no implementing machinery.
Ma'am,
The
please
machinery
answer.
that has
This
to
is
be
not a,
brought
this
in.
is not a,
Government
this is
should
not a
have to
women
brought in.
fancy situation. This
And
is
the
not a
state
women
government-
fancy. No, no,
state
Miss,
governments have to
no,
do it.
Miss
In fact, you are
Joshi,
antagonizing the
Miss Joshi, I get
state government by doing
the.
all this.
Okay, Miss Joshi, the question today is we are back to the ordinance. We are back to the way in which you are passing it. I just want to add one statistic to you. 512,428 crores is the cost estimated for this over 3 years by the CACP. 40% is going to be leakage as per your standards. So you are going to allow the siphoning off of 210,000 crore rupees by middlemen. Why do I not have a right to see this issue
that's
debated
because of
on
lack
the
of
floor of
preparation,
Parliament?
Arnab.
I want to debate it.
The first answer is no amount of money is too much if it has to benefit the mass of the people.
To benefit
That
middlemen?
Because the money is the
To
people's
benefit
money
middlemen?
and it should go back to them.
To benefit
no,
middlemen?
no,
Okay, no, to benefit middlemen?
Arnab, I want to-
Prasenjit
I want
Bose
to
is
respond to
rebutting.
this
Then I go to
whole
Smriti
middleman
Irani. Prasenjit Bose is rebutting you. Prasenjit, yes.
No, wait. No, Arnab, I think that this argument which is coming regarding leakages and
The state governments should come forth. The money is for
No,
the
no,
people.
no.
It should go back to the
No,
people.
we are-
People are malnutrition. They need food.
Ma'am, in no
And if
country,
this ordinance is coming,
ma'am, in no country
then generally
is
people
money
have
spent like this
accepted
without
it.
by
They
bypassing the
welcomed
Parliament. Prasenjit is responding. Smriti is raised her hand.
No, but
Prasenjit first quickly.
I just want to make a couple of points. You see, first of all, I think that the line that you are taking, that the food security legislation essentially means leakage and middlemen. I don't think that is a correct way of looking at it. That way, any social security program has to be, condemned because there will be some leakage or some, some kind of wastage in that. The point is, therefore, you can't argue that you can never have any social security program. In a country like ours, where there is such high levels of malnutrition and hunger, you must have food security.
Well, certainly you should.
But I want to make 2 points.
No, but give me.
Wait. Listen.
Bejan is rebutting.
Listen, Arnab.
So we should
There
think
are
of
two
what
What is the
arguments.
cost of inefficiency?
There are 2 arguments. I think that you don't converse the 2 arguments. One, nobody is for, I am not arguing in favor of leakage. Systems have to be more efficient.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't make that as the thing that since
But
the systems
I
are
am
not
very
efficient,
sorry.
therefore you
I am
cannot
very
have
sorry.
security.
I am extremely
So
sorry.
both
I'm
can
sorry.
go
I'm sorry,
together.
Prasenjit.
Both can go
I'm sorry,
together. But I
Prasenjit.
think- but I think
No,
there's a big
I'm sorry,
digression. You are trying
Prasenjit.
to
Prasenjit,
merge
1
these two
minute.
issues.
Prasenjit, 1
There's a
minute.
big digression
Prasenjit, a
here.
minute. Just a minute, please allow me. Prasenjit, 1 minute. The
No,
question
you-
here is
no,
this.
no,
1
let me
minute.
finish
1
my
minute.
point.
I just want to ask one.
Important point.
You
I
have
want to make an
waited.
important point.
You
Please
have
allow me to
waited.
finish my
What's it?
point.
What's it?
No,
Here's the
my
logic.
point is-
Here's the
my
logic,
point
Prasenjit.
is
Prasenjit,
that
here's the
way
logic.
the government,
Listen to me.
I want to respond to
Listen to me,
quickly to a
Prasenjit.
point which Ms. Joshi made.
Prasenjit, a simple point here. Please just allow me a minute. You have waited 9 years and 2 months. You can create an infrastructure that may cost you 1,000 crores to save you 200,000 crores of leakage. Why would you not do it? Why would you knowingly walk into this trap?
Absolutely.
I don't understand the logic here.
No, there is
This doesn't add
no
up.
trap. There are going to be. See,
Smith-
we are a federal system. We are in a federal system. The state
No,
government
no, no,
share
no,
responsibility.
no, this whole
federal system
the
doesn't
entire
mean that
scheme
you
is going through the
encourage the
state
corrupt.
government.
No.
The state government
No
has the
federal
machinery.
system encourages
They have the machinery. They have a PDL system
Ms.
which they have
Joshi,
to make more
Ms. Joshi,
efficient.
Bejan
Moreover,
Mishra,
let me ask you one question.
Bejan is rebutting
Let
you.
me ask you one
Arnab, you are,
Bejan.
please allow me to finish my point. Because I think that
Bejan, please on the screen. Mr. Bejan Mishra and Rita Bogdaji.
wait.
Introduce food security.
Arnab, please allow me to finish my point.
Rita ji, no federal system encourages corruption or leakages or inefficiencies in the system. You have to understand that any social kind of a system which you are trying to bring in, any kind of a proper processes you are bringing in, it must encourage efficiency, transparency, accountability. Citizens say you are not taking any citizen into confidence. You are in a hurry to first pass an ordinance. You are not trying to figure out
No,
how the
citizens are
flaws
happy.
can be
Now,
addressed in terms
parties
of the
are not happy.
You are
Mr.
not
Mishra.
addressing the issues.
Okay, now,
in a hurry
Miss
all the
Joshi,
time.
Miss
Country are
Joshi,
happy.
Miss Joshi, here now,
I'm at 100.
Miss Joshi, here now from Smriti Irani. Smriti Irani and Rita Bahuguna Joshi. We have 2 sides of the political divide laid out now clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, just give me a minute. Let's hear from the BJP. Smriti Irani. The basic argument goes back to this. The Congress's defense is this. you have not let Parliament work, one. Second point is, there's a tremendous amount of good it will do to the people. So we can live with a slight inefficiency of the system. Your response, please.
I think you're well within your rights as an Indian to ask that why shouldn't 40% of leakages in the system, which is foreseen by the government, be plugged, and why should that issue not be debated on the floor of the House? I think I as an Indian am well within my rights to have a discussion on such an important bill during a parliament session where all political voices can add their suggestions or highlight their concerns. But insofar as Ms. Joshi's projection that this is not a political gimmick but a social cause that is being indulged in by the Congress party, my humble request to her that if the good of the poor, the need to wipe out hunger from the faces of the poor, if that was so strong, then why did the Congress party not comply with the order of the Supreme Court in 2010, when the Supreme Court of India told the Government of India that instead of letting grains rot in government godowns, distribute it amongst the poor who are hungry, who go to sleep every night empty stomach. So let's not be swayed by this political gimmick which has been indulged in by the Congress party. It is not the hungry that they want to feed, it is just their vote bank.
That's a good point. And Rita Bahuguna Joshi, your party promised, and I want to take that question to Mehboob Beg. Mehboob Beg, respond to Smriti Irani. Also, the UPA promised that we will always do things through consensus. In fact, Pranab Mukherjee, in the same year 2010, that Smriti is quoting in May 2010, Pranab Mukherjee says consensus is the soul of a democratic system. You can only sustain and strengthen democratic process through consensus. What happened now? Why are you, Mr. Mehboob Beg, being a mute spectator to the U-turn that your political ally, the Congress party, is doing? Why?
Arnab, just hang on for a minute, for heaven's sake. Who is against consensus? Who is against? You are just ignoring the basic thing that it was tabled in the House. They are just bypassing it. They are not answering your question. The question which was raised, it was tabled. The effort was that it should be discussed, it should be debated. Yes, there are loopholes in the delivery system. Who says no? They have to be plugged in. Who says nobody can say no to that? There is always a provision of improvement. Improvement has to be there. It's a continuous process. But simply saying that there will be loopholes, therefore such a bill, look at the merit of the bill. Please, for heaven's sake, go on making suggestions. This is not the ultimate thing. Finally, it has to go to the parliament in any case, whether it is ordinance, route or any other route.
You believe Mehboob Beg? You believe Mehboob Beg? Can I ask you? You believe Mehboob Beg that in a country, Mehboob Beg, where 4% of the people are hungry, but over 40% are malnourished, in a country where several states already distribute very, very cheap grain, it is not like they are not, grain is not available. You actually believe this is going to change the malnourishment index of the country? You think so? States are already distributing food grain.
Don't you think this should be tried?
In states like Andhra Pradesh,
this should be tried in a country where
in states like Andhra Pradesh, where cheap grain is already being distributed, there are large number of people who are hungry. Why? There are tremendous number of people who are malnourished. Why? Why, Mr. Mehboob Beg, if this is an answer, does that happen?
Arnab, isn't it a fact that still 2/3 of the population, which is 64% of the population, still go hungry? And you have to do something about it.
I'm sorry. You don't have the facts.
Even if it is
no, I'm sorry. Please, no. That's why you are indulging in hype.
No,
you are indulging in hype. I am quoting from news. I am quoting from informed reports which say.
Yes, it is.
No. I'm sorry. You can't indulge in hype on these facts. The fact of the matter is this, that I'm quoting from today's newspaper, which says any number of empirical studies show that hunger is not a major worry for the vast majority of Indians. 4% of Indians are hungry, but malnutrition is over 40%.
This is totally one-sided. This is totally one-sided, Arnab. You are not allowing us to speak. And this
okay,
is
go ahead, challenge it. Go ahead.
Completely one-sided facts that you are providing.
Go ahead.
You, first of all, please, I don't know where you are getting all these figures from. In India, as per United Nations data, United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, India has the largest concentration of hungry people in the world. You please get your facts right. So I don't think that the question, the way it is being posed, whether hunger is at all a problem in our country, whether we need food security or not, all this I am telling you that you are convoluting the entire issue by opposing food security per se.
My question to you is, my question to you is, Prasenjit Bose. Prasenjit Bose, my question to you is, please tell me, Prasenjit Bose, 1 minute. No, you allow me to ask you a question. Allow me to ask you a question. Tell me this. No, don't get. Allow me to ask you a question. Tell me whether. Tell me, Mr. Prasenjit Bose, 1 minute, please, 1 minute. Here, 1 second, Mr. Bose. Mr. Bose, 1 minute. Please hear the others. You tell me today, Mr. Bose. Mr. Bose and Deepa Sinha tell me that in states which distribute cheap grain, how are the malnutrition figures at discordance with the amount of cheap grain which is distributed? If this was effective to end malnourishment, why do the malnourishment figures not improve? Deepa Sinha.
Yeah, this is exactly one of our issues with the food security bill, and I hope you'll give me 2 minutes because I can't outshout the others. What you're raising is a valid question, but let's get the facts right. Firstly, your figure of 2% people only being hungry in the country is not right. That's from a flawed question in the NSS, but if you look at the calorie consumption, that has been falling. Every index across the world by every UN body shows that we have highest malnutrition. But malnutrition cannot be addressed by cereals alone, which is why we are saying that this food security bill, you're right, will not make a dent on malnutrition. Because it's only about rice and wheat, about a limited quantity. We need pulses, we need oil, we need water, we need sanitation, we need access to healthcare. And we need all of this to be part of the bill, which is what the Right to Food campaign has been saying. Which is why we want a debate in the parliament. And these are amendments that parties like the CPI, CPM, BJD have introduced in parliament, and that is exactly why this has to go through the debate, and a strengthened bill has to be put in place.
Don't oppose the legislation.
One second.
Solution is not ordinance.
Bejon's turn. Bejon Mishra's turn. Let Bejon speak.
Solution is not ordinance. You see, the solution is not ordinance. Let me tell you that. Please allow state governments. Solution is allow state governments to be innovative, to be creative. Some of the state governments have done wonderful job in tackling malnutrition. Let's understand that. Let's look at those models. Let's study from there. Let's learn from there. Ordinance is not the solution.
Yeah,
the central government has no right to interfere in terms of what the state
I would not agree with that because
leave the innovation to the state governments to handle their business.
Some of the
state governments are doing an excellent job.
So we can learn from state governments.
Nobody is recognizing Nobody is recognizing the good state government.
You see, I want to. That's very good. One second, gentlemen. You see, by putting those figures out, which I knew would be controversial. One second. You see, the Prasenjit and Deepa Sinha's response to those figures, which are one set of figures which Deepa Sinha has a absolute right to question. And the debate that we have had in the last 5 minutes only underlines one point. So we go back to Rita Bahuguna Joshi and Mehboob Beg for an answer, a convincing answer today. Nobody, even the right to food activists, believe that you are doing it the right way. So Ms. Joshi, now I come to a political point. How is your government functioning? When you want to pass a deal with the United Arab Emirates on aviation, which is going to allegedly benefit one party and compromise national interest, in 24 hours you pass it, and then in 7 days your Prime Minister does a U-turn. So that's when certain issues are concerned, those are corporate issues. When it comes to issues such as this, you don't want to wait 2 weeks for Parliament, you want to go through the ordinance route. May I ask you, Ms. Joshi, please tell me, do I get a feeling that UPA too is suddenly in a great hurry about everything? Why? Everything. You're in a great hurry about everything.
1 year with the opposition parties in the House has not been very good.
Again.
2, it is a good bill which will come up for debate, will come for discussion in the Parliament. Every ordinance has to come for discussion and clearance of the Parliament.
Now we must go back to Smriti.
3, it takes 6 months. If they keep stalling it for another 1
We go back to Smriti Irani. Now I think you need to answer this, Smriti, in detail now. One second, hear from the BJP.
I think the bill is very good.
Well, Smriti Irani, now you can comprehensively respond to this.
When it comes.
one line of argument today. Go ahead, Ms. Smriti
You know,
Irani.
the same old drum is being beaten time and again that the opposition is disrupting Parliament, thereby neglecting the fact that the DMK, which was the ally of the Congress party, got into the well of the house, disrupted house many a times. Mayawati ji got the house disrupted many a times. Samajwadi party disrupted the house on many a times. These things being said today, I think what the conclusion everybody is coming on to is that nobody per se is against food security for the poor. What people take objection to is this strangling of the throats of democracy by the Congress party for political gain. If the Congress party was so concerned about food security, this is a promise that they made as a part of their 100 days, the first 100 days in power, what they will achieve.
Yeah.
I heard a food activist on your channel tonight speak about getting, apart from rice and wheat, getting dal, getting oil. Well, ma'am, to get all that, one needs to control inflation, to control food prices, to bring down prices, which the government has also failed at.
Yeah. I think.
So a comprehensive conversation on food security, yes, is the need of the hour. There is no political party that I know of which has shied away from a debate on the floor of the House. But it is also a fact that the constitutional responsibility of running Parliament rests with the Government of India, Congress-led UPA, which has failed even on that front. Now, if the Congress party believes that its ministers will indulge in corruption and BJP shall not bat an eyelid in Parliament, then I'm sorry, I don't think that is how democracy should function.
Gaurav Bhatia, last question is on competitive populism. Some people would say that giving people 25 kilos of rice is better than 3,000 crore rupees spent in distributing laptops which find their way to the black market, which is exactly what the Akhilesh government has done. 3,000 crores spent in giving laptops, which 50% of which find their way to the black market. It's better to give people rice than to distribute laptops.
I have 2 points to make. One is that if you're talking about these schemes, the way our scheme in state of Uttar Pradesh regarding distribution of laptops was implementation, there was no wastage of public funds. And here we are talking about a figure which is far bigger than the entire amount spent in laptops, and the siphoning and leakage would be far greater because there is no mechanism to distribute this. That is the key difference. And secondly, Mrs. Joshi was talking about federal structure. Then I would like to point out that there is a great responsibility under the ordinance for the state governments to implement, to have an infrastructure. How many state governments have they consulted before bringing this ordinance? I think not even one. So, you know, that itself shows the seriousness regarding the ordinance that they have brought. They ought to have consulted all the state governments. They should have asked the state governments about the preparedness and whether they were ready to implement such a bill or not. And I would also like to point out that in the past also they rushed through the right to education bill. The right to education bill also they brought without having the infrastructure in place, and then the Supreme Court had to intervene so that they can at least effectively implement the right to education. So what is the purpose of enacting a bill when you can't even implement such a scheme? And the same would happen with this ordinance as well. It would prove to be a complete failure.
The trust deficit in the Congress-led UPA is so visible.
Let's see if this issue comes to Parliament. What is quite clear to me,
even an ally today does not have faith in its ability to deliver.
Well,
You are against the method, or are you against the bill?
Let's see if the President passes the ordinance. Let's see whether Pranab Mukherjee signs on the ordinance immediately. We'll have to follow that part too. After all, we've got a thinking Rashtrapati now. Let's see what happens there. We'll take a break. Thank you very much for debate number 1. We see what Pranab Mukherjee does.